Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise to Him who lives eternally. They never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh Almighty, worthy, worthy to receive all glory.
Well, hello. Welcome to a Walking in the Word presentation by Heart of the Tribe. My name is Chelle Wagner. I'm so glad you came to join me. Whether you're able to watch live or whether you're watching in the future, I hope that this message is a great blessing to you. Now, I was reflecting on what it's been like to try to bring this message of Hosea, and I have to confess, it's been harder to do than I thought. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is a sad message in many ways, especially that I think the chapters that I'm dealing with right now, because it's dealing with the fall of a very arrogant nation that was once a superpower of the world at that time. And they cannot see that they are about to lose everything. And it's just a refusal to stop being so prideful. I mean, they just believe in their own abilities, and they have lost touch completely with their creator. And so, looking at it that way and going through it, there's so many parallels to the United States where I live and many nations currently across the globe that, really since our world has it changed drastically in 2020. I know things were going on before then, but things have been going on for a long time, but it increased exponentially and it is continuing to do so. And really it feels like to me, since we hit Shavuot, we are entering into another time of exponential acceleration towards this end time showdown that's coming, right? All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and add this to the screen so we can go through it. So we are in Hosea. We're in chapters 9 through 11 today. And it truly is. Poor Hosea was between a rock and a hard message. And now, if you've not heard the first 8 chapters, it is on a playlist on both my Brighteon channel and on the YouTube channel. It's also available on Facebook, the Heart of the Tribe page. All these teachings are there. And so you can go back. This teaching on Hosea, I've got all the way 1 through 9 on there, previously, that I've done 1 through 8 that I've done previously. We've also done the book of Amos. I'm going through the Kings and Prophets series slowly, but I'm going through it and putting it together. And I will be making that available in print form as well. And so I will be giving an update on that. I'm going to be making several things available in print form, and you can find them. I've got it in the description. It's at a link called Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. And so I'm starting to put many things that I am writing on that platform. All right, so with that, let me go ahead and get started with this. All right, so in Hosea 9, verses 1 through 3, it says, O people of Yasharel, do not rejoice as other nations do, for you have been unfaithful to your Elohim. Now, you'll notice in my scripture, sometimes I use the New Living Translation just because I like the ease and flow of the message, but I like to use my own personal preferred pronouns. You'll also see many times I'll use the Sefer, because I love the hard work that's been done in that, and can see so many Hebrew connections. I really value the work that was done there. Also, sometimes you'll just see me use the King James because I'm just trying to dig into some words. Okay, so right here, I am using, this is New Living Translation right here. So, O people of Yasharel, do not rejoice as other nations do, for you have been unfaithful to your Elohim. hiring yourselves out like prostitutes, worshiping other Elohims on every threshing floor, right? The threshing floor, the place where the wheat is supposed to be separated from the chaff, right? This is a holy process. In fact, when you look at the word Kodesh, and becoming Kodesh, set apart, holy, it is in the pictograph. You can look at it and you can see that it is the process of the chaff being removed from the wheat. Okay, you can find that in Frank Seekin's book called Hebrew Word Pictures. All right, so now your harvest will be too small to feed you. There will be no grapes for making new wine. So he's saying this is going to affect the wheat and the wine, right? You may no longer stay here in Yahweh's land. Instead, you will return to Egypt, to Mitzrayim, and in Assyria, you will eat food that is ceremonially unclean. What does that mean? It means food that it's not talking about like the biblical cleanness of food. And I think this is where a lot of people get very confused in the New Testament, with Peter's vision and Paul's writings about, the food offered to idols. And they think that it means we can eat pork now. Like God just changed his mind, right? That y'all just suddenly went, oh, never mind with my old rules. I've got, new thing. That's not true. Okay. So food that is ceremonially unclean is food that may be biblically clean. It may be beef ribs. It may be, a steak. It may be a chicken, but it's been offered to idols. Okay. And so it's become ceremonially unclean. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. So what he said in the last scripture was that you're hiring yourselves out like prostitutes, right? So I wanted to take a look at that. What does this mean? You're hiring yourself out like prostitutes. So it's a harlot. It's a zanah, right? And so I've got it here in the modern day script, no vowel pointings. And I've also got it here in the ancient pictograph. So you can see this Zion is shaped like a plow. It's something that cuts, right? It harvests. It's a harvesting tool. And then we've got a noon. Well, noon is new life sprouting forth, right? And then we've got a hay, which is always just kind of like, behold, look at this. All right, so in the Brown Driver Briggs, it says that a harlot, a zanah, is someone who is unfaithful to God, unfaithful to Elohim. It is a primitive root word. It is a verb. It's an action. So it means you're unfaithful because of your choices, because of what you're deciding to do. The etymology of the word, which gets to the true essence of the word. When we're looking at etymology, we're looking at what is the absolute true essence of a word. And so it means to be a defector, someone who has strayed away. You were on the path, but now, maybe the science is right. Maybe the culture is okay. Maybe love really is love. Right. And so you're deflecting off this path that was the right path. It's a lonely road sometimes. It's a hard path sometimes, right? So let's take a further look at this for an explanation on what it means to be a zanah, to become unfaithful. Well, first, if you become unfaithful once you were faithful, right? And so this is what he's talking to. So, people read scriptures and I love this because I've heard Bill Cloud say it many, many times throughout his ministry. He'll talk about the fact that, people act like this word was written for the unbelievers to read. Well, it's not. This word was written for Yah's people to read, right? This isn't trying to address, the wicked. They're in the wicked camp. This is addressing those who consider themselves in the household. They consider themselves to be part of Yah's family. This is ancient Yasharel. This is people that sit on the church pews for decades, right? But their hearts are so far away. People in messianic congregations who are, it's the law, the law, the law, and their hearts have become as hard as a stone, right? To where they're not even able to discern spiritual things. Okay. So let's take a look at this. To become a Zanah. What does it mean? Exodus 34:12-16. Take heed to yourself, lest you cut a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither you go, lest it be for a snare in the midst of you. So what is this snare? It's something designed to catch you, right? He says, but here's what I want you to do. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, cut down their Asherah poles, right? I mean, we see them all over our nation. I always forget the name of them. The big tall towers, I just can't even remember the name of them right now. But you guys know what I'm talking about. There's one in New York. There's one in London. There's one at the Vatican, right? They're all over the place. And you see them all over the place, okay? And that's like the modern day Asherah pole, right? It's representative, like a kind of like what the circumpunct symbol is. It's all about the womb and the penis. It's all sex magic, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere in symbolism, right? So it says you're supposed to break down their altars, break their images, and cut down their Asherah poles, for you shall worship no other El. Now, when you trace the etymology of the word Easter, you will find that at the root of that, it is Asherah, right? Which was one of the three main deities that had to be dealt with. There was Baal, Astarte or Asherah, and Molech. These were three big ones, right? That were always that part of the paganistic worship system, ancient paganism, right? You shall worship no other El, for Yahweh Kana is my name. Okay, so what are we looking at? It's not exactly how I say Yahweh. I could say the Lord of jealousy, and it's the same essence. Okay, it's the essence of what it means. Kana is he's jealous for us. He's not going to allow us to divide our affections. Either he is everything to us or he's nothing to us. He will not stand for the wishy-washy. Today I'm going to appear pious and like I'm reading my Bible and doing the right thing. But when I go to work, I'm going to laugh around the cooler at the crude jokes and the shows that denigrate men and maleness in our society and have no honor and are full of sexual innuendos, and I'm going to laugh about that and, try to fit in, right? He's like, no, either you are for me or you're not. There's really no in-between space. And I think that for a long time in society, it has seemed that there was an in-between space, but I'm telling you, that narrow road is getting sharp as a razor blade. And if you are trying to straddle and keep one leg in the world and one leg in Yah's kingdom, you're about to be split in two. It's not going to work for you. Okay. It will destroy you. It will absolutely destroy you. He is jealous for us, and he will not allow our hearts to be taken up with another. Okay, so for you shall worship no other El, for Yahuwah Kana is my name. He is a jealous El. Lest you cut a covenant with the inhabitants of the land. That's what happens. You come into agreement, right, with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their Elohims, right? And that's who you raise up and you start to worship. You start to worship at the Asherah poles, okay? And you do sacrifice unto their Elohim, right? the altar of abortion, the altar of drug, sex, and rock and roll, that altar of feminism, that all of those things. And one call you and you eat of his sacrifice, right? Everything's acceptable now. Oh, that's all just Old Testament stuff. It doesn't apply to me, right? I mean, that's kind of the culture. And you end up taking of their daughters unto your sons, and their daughters go a whoring after their Elohim, and make your sons go whoring after their Elohim. Hosea had to see that this happened in Solomon's day, and it broke his heart, right? And Moses was warning, this is what will happen. So let's look at Hosea 9:1 right here. It says, rejoice not, O Yasharel, for joy as other people, for you have gone a whoring from your Elohim. You've loved a reward upon every threshing floor. So the reward mentioned in this verse is ethnon. It's an aleph, I'd say et-non, right? So it's an aleph tav nun, okay, from the Brown Driver Briggs. It is the hire of a prostitute. The root word is tana, which is tav, noon, and a hay. It's to hire with amorous favors, right? There's something being dangled there. You're willing to give, with the whoredom, the prostitution analogy, you're willing to give the most sacred inner parts of yourself, the parts that cause you to become one with someone else, right? Because sex was only for the marriage bed, because it's a covenant where the two become one, right? And so when you hire yourself out as a prostitute, that's what he's saying. You're giving the very most sacred thing that belonged to you to another. Deuteronomy 23:18, you shall not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of Yahweh Eloheka for any vow, for even both these are an abomination unto Yahweh Eloheka. All right. He doesn't want us doing that. Okay, so I wanted to look a little further. We and our ancestors are guilty. Yahweh has a valid charge against us. There is a legal right for Hasatan, the Satan, the adversary, to attack. Excuse me a moment. Now, to accept this truth takes courage. What has always driven Yah's people to sin? It is a lack of faith that he is good and that he loves us, right? That's always a lack of faith that he will really step in and help us, because these things have to be accepted by faith. His love for us is something that we accept by faith in who he says he is, and by our evidence and the faith walk of our forefathers. This is why it's so important to know the scriptures. Hebrews 11, going over it, knowing how faithful he's been, and thinking about it. So we as humanity are fearful creatures. We really are. We're afraid he won't be good to us. So we try to figure out our own path, and the enemy of our souls takes full advantage of this. This is why the world is under the attack of fear. That's what, think about what happened in 2020. Everything, fear other people, fear for your finances, fear for your family, fear if you won't do what you're being told to do, fear you won't be able to travel, fear you won't be able to get groceries, fear you won't be able, it's all this stuff. Right. And so, fear can cause one of two reactions in us. Okay. We can forget everything that we know to be true and just run like scared little rabbits, running as fast as we can. or we can pivot. We can face that thing that before may have caused us to fear everything and run. And now we're going to face it, and we're going to face everything that's thrown at us, and we're going to recover, right? We're going to recover what was stolen away. We're going to recover all that Yah wanted for us to have. We're going to recover our destiny and who we are as his people, right? I heard one of the most, a really good teaching last night. My friend Nita Moshe had shared it with me, and I put it on the Telegram group, which there is a link to in the description of this video. And what this woman was sharing about is there's been, that there's a popular word right now going on called triggered. I've been triggered, right? I mean, it is the thing of the day, right? I've been triggered by this. Okay. And trauma, where we're all dealing with all these past traumas. I am too. Right. I'm going and doing some work in that area with the staff at Wellbeing by Design, Dr. Monzo's clinic, who I've had as a guest, an honored guest on this platform many times. Right. He is really helping me in multiple areas. What a gift to the body. Dr. Monzo and the entire staff of Wellbeing by Design is, right. Just absolutely amazing. So anyway, this teaching that I had heard last night that Nita shared with me, this woman was saying, sometimes we have to go back, right? The thing that caused you to run, Moshe, this was her example. She was talking about how Moshe, when he was afraid that he was going to come under a death sentence for the killing of a taskmaster, an Egyptian that was beating up on a Hebrew, and he knew he was exposed, he ran away from that thing 40 years out in the desert. And then Yah calls him to go back, right? And to face down every fear and to be a deliverer for his people. And many times I think that that's what it is, that opposite reaction to fear. At this time, I'm not going to run. This time I've got tools in my bag. Yah has helped me to overcome, and I'm going to face that thing. And I'm going to say, yeah, you may have gotten me for a bit. Your betrayal may have worked on me. Right? It may have gotten me down. It may have hurt in a way that I didn't know how I was ever going to overcome it. Right? But I'm facing it. I'm looking at it. I know that's a lie. I know that you weren't meant to be in my life as a betrayer, and I can face it, and I can overcome it, and I can help others to overcome it. Right? I'm going to face it, and I'm going to recover from it, and I'm going to be stronger because of it. Okay. So that's what we do when we're willing to face these things that before would have gotten us. Okay. So when we have these unhealed trauma wounds, right, and we're unwilling to go through the necessary deliverance process in the care of qualified people within the body of Yahusha, with qualified, believing counselors, we are drawn like magnets to others that are also running in fear from going to the hard places that true healing and deliverance requires. We are mainly water, right? That is the majority. When you look up percentage-wise, what are we made up of? We are mainly water, and water by nature settles at the lowest point. If we are married and the two have become one, the one who does not want to heal and grow will drag down the one who does want to heal and grow. Who we choose to marry is absolutely vital, right? Because this is how it works. See in the graphics here, you'll see there's a settling zone. Water settles at the lowest point, and that's what happens. And so be careful in choosing your partner. Make sure that they are qualified to go where you're called to go. So the consequences of not overcoming is submission to an evil tyrannical system, right? Hosea 9:2-4. So now your harvest will be too small to feed you. There will be no grapes for making new wine. You may no longer stay here in Yahweh's land, right? He's going to get kicked out. Instead, you're going to return to Egypt. You're going to return, right? Not conquering as Moshe did, but as slaves, right? And in Assyria, you will eat food that is ceremonially unclean. There you will make no offerings of wine to Yahweh. None of your sacrifices there will please him. They will be unclean, like food touched by a person in mourning, right? Why would that affect food? Because when our emotions, when we're in mourning, right, are just our emotions have been devastated. They are grief, right? It's profound sadness, and emotions have a frequency, right? So those frequencies invade the things that we're about to put into our mouth, right? This is important, even why we pray over our food. We bless the food and thank Yah for it, and put the frequency of his blessing there, as we partake, right? So they will be unclean, like food touched by a person in mourning. All who present such sacrifices will be defiled. They may eat this food themselves, but they may not offer it to Yahweh. It's not a fit offering, right? Hosea 9:5. What then will you do on festival days? How will you observe Yahweh's festivals? He's saying when you're out of doing things Yah's way, how do you think that you're going to do things and offer service and offerings in a way that pleases him? There's going to be nothing but confusion when you go to try to do this, right? What? How do I do this? Right? Just utter confusion and dismay. Hosea 9:6. Even if you escape destruction from Assyria, Egypt will conquer you and Memphis will bury you. Nettles will take over your treasures of silver. Thistles will invade your ruined homes. This is a real bad case of things, right? Okay. This is utter destruction on where you live. Hosea 9:7-8 says, the time of Israel's punishment has come. The day of payment is here. Soon Israel will know this all too well. Because of your great sin and hostility, you say, the prophets are crazy and the inspired men are fools, right? They just, people who are living in the land of ease, they always think that it's going to continue just the way it is. Well, there's suddenlies coming. There's suddenlies coming. And if you are a student of scripture, you know that there are suddenlies coming, right? The prophet is a watchman over Yasharel for my Elohim, yet traps are laid for him wherever he goes. He faces hostility even in the house of Elohim. The prophetic message is not a popular message, right? And so it will cause this is a really hard thing if you've got a prophetic gifting in your life, is you are going to be betrayed time and time and time again. You know why? Because you're going to push on people's buttons, right? And that's what's hard. And that's why I put this quote on here. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It always comes from those that you thought you were in line with, right? You thought people, that you were walking the same path, and you come to find out they are not willing to go to the hard places, right? And so they will stab you in the back in a heartbeat because they're running scared. Okay. They don't want to face things. They want to make the world and live in this bubble of their own making rather than deal with stark realities of where we are. And so it's so important if you have betrayal in your background, right? Adverse childhood experiences of betrayal. It is so important to get with qualified counselors and do the necessary work of getting to a place of healing so that the enemy can't use people that appear to be in the household of Yah, right? But maybe they're not, right? Maybe they're on that fence, that wishy-washy, and you don't know if they're going to stay or they're going to run, but it looks like when they're there that they're there, but it ends up that they're not really who you thought they were, because when a trauma, when a thumb gets put on their trauma, it's like a boil that burst and erupt and with toxicity all over everything, and they will betray you, and so that's a hard thing to learn. It's been a really hard lesson for me to have to learn, and it's been one that I have seen. It'll come from people that claim to be your closest friends, people that you thought you were walking in ministry with, family, all kinds of ways it will come, right? But you've got to understand, when it comes, it's not a personal thing against you. It's the fact that that particular person has deep trauma wounds and they are running from Yah. And sometimes they do it with a very religious spirit. They start calling everything that would help them to get healed. They start naming it out. That's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. And actually what they're doing is they are running from the very people that could have helped them overcome and get the core of that boil out, because it exploded because it got pushed, but the core didn't come out. So it's just going to become worse, right? Until that person is ready to deal with it. Okay. So it says, the prophet is a watchman over Yasharel for my Elohim, yet traps are laid for him wherever he goes, right? The enemy uses those people that are not healed to lay traps, to lay snares for other. So the prophet faces hostility even in the house of Yahweh, even in the house of Elohim. So be ready for it if you've got prophetic giftings in your life. Hosea 9:9, they have deeply corrupted themselves as in the days of Givah. Right? Therefore, he will remember their iniquity. He will visit their sins. Well, what was the days of Givah? Now, this is a story that you can find in Judges chapters 19 and 20. This is when a priest, a Levite, was traveling through, and he was a Levite that I believe had ties to the tribe of Benjamin, because the Levites did not have their own territory. They were distributed in every city of all the other tribes to minister to the people, right? And to minister to Yah. So there is a Levite that was traveling with his concubine through the territory of Benjamin, where Givah was. And these Benjamites had become Sodomites, right? And following after the ways of the ancient Nephilim, just like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? That's what Sodomites means. It's from Sodom and Gomorrah. And it is, the sin of wanting to have men with men, women with women, and with strange flesh, right? Sex with strange flesh is the ultimate goal with angels, okay? And so this is a huge, huge sin in Yah's sight, right? And so what he's saying is corruption, the way that this society has corrupted itself, it's as in the days of Givah, right? So he's going to remember that iniquity and he's going to visit their sins. In this story of Judges 19 and 20, almost the entire tribe of Benjamin was wiped out because of this. It's a horrific story, but one worth knowing and one worth being able to understand in this day, because this is exactly where we are. Everything that you see setting up, everything that's going on at Target, everything that's going on, with who was that one? North Face, okay, Kohl's, all these corporate partners that are shoving this agenda down your face. It all leads to the sex magic of strange flesh. It all is going in that direction. It was, it was gay. It was the LGBTQ. Now it's gone on to plus and Q and P and this and that. It's going to lead to the pedophilia we're pretty much there. It leads to bestiality, and then it leads to the strange flesh, which is sex with fallen watchers, fallen angels. Okay, that's where it's going, and it's coming really, really fast. If you don't believe me, join our Telegram group. Look at the trance music concerts that are going on. Look at all the reports on sex with robots. It's all, marrying your robot partner. It's all going on, and we are rapidly approaching the end, and people are like frogs in what they think is just really nice warm water, and it's going to reach boiling point very, very soon. So I know this is a hard message, but be warned, this society is going to fall. Okay, the economy will crash, the society will fall. When the frequencies get turned on, we're going to see the zombie apocalypse like you have never seen it before in your life. Watch out for it. It's coming. Okay. All right. So let's keep going with this message of Hosea. All right. Hosea 9:10. I found Yasharel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first ripe in the fig tree at our first time, but they went to Baal Peor. Who was Baal Peor? So you've got Baal, chief head deity, married to Asherah. They changed names throughout history and culture, just depending, but it's all the same ancient paganism, right? So Baal Peor was the lord of the holes, right? And it's human holes, right? And so why do this, why is this ancient deities interested in human holes? Again, it's a direct connection to the sex magic and what happened in Givah and going after strange flesh, right? So they went to Baal Peor and separated themselves unto that shame, and it is shame. And their abominations, right? This is called an abominations, were according as they loved. They fell in love with it. They fell in love with it. Love is love. Love is love. This society is in love with it. Okay. I don't have to convince you of that. All you have to do is be breathing and, conscious, and you can see it. Okay. Hosea 9:11 through 13. As for Ephraim, okay, who is Ephraim? This is the northern kingdoms. This is who this message was addressed to, the 10 northern tribes. This is also known as the stick of Ephraim, right? And Ezekiel 37. This is the house of Yasharel, the northern kingdom. Okay. As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth and from the womb and from the conception. Wow. Things that are affecting babies from conception. Well, let's think about harm in the arm that's been taken that is going to affect anything being produced in a woman's body, right? It's affecting the semen. It's gene altering. It's merging man with machine. Okay. Though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them, that there shall not be a man left, right? A man, a humankind left. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. Ephraim, as I saw Zaor, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. This is what is happening. Just handing them over to the state, right? Give them, oh Yahweh, what will you give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breast. What Hosea is so grieved here. He is saying, better for them never to be born than to be born into destruction. This is what he's saying. This is a hard message. It's not one I'm even enjoying bringing, but this is what Yah placed on my heart and told me to do. So I'm doing it. And it's not easy, right? Because I would rather look at, the good things. and I do spend time looking at the good things. I don't just dwell in this. I have to. I dive into it as far as Yah wants me to. And then I go do something fun, like with our community of kids, and enjoy the good things of life. Right. And enjoy time with my husband and take a walk with my dog and, enjoy my herbs and good things of life. Enjoy praise music and time with God and the good promises that he's given. But he's put this commission on my heart, and I've got to be faithful to do and say what he told me to do and say, because he's trying to wake some people up. He's trying to get some people's attention right now. And he's asked me to do it. And I have to be faithful, because all I want to hear when I see him is, well done, good and faithful servant. Does that mean I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. I mess up all the time. That's why I'm like everybody else, working out my salvation with fear and trembling before him. But to be disobedient when he's given me the insight on this message and not bring it, that's not working out my salvation with fear and trembling. That's running from things that I would rather not have to look at myself, right? And I can't do that, right? Okay, so let me add this screen back. All right. Yeah, I think this is one of the hardest ones when, to look at this thing to where Hosea literally prayed that the women that he prayed, oh Yahweh, give the women of Israel at this point a miscarrying womb and dry breast, rather than have children born into this destruction, right? If they've taken that way and they're going that way, it just was, you can just hear the heaviness of his heart. Okay. So continuing on with the message, he says, all their wickedness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them for the wickedness of their doings. I will drive them out of my house. I will love them no more. All their princes, the Tsar, the leaders, right, are revolters. He's like, I can't even count on the ones that I put in place to be leadership, right? They're even apostate and they're leading the people off course. And it's just, Hosea can see it, and it is breaking his heart. Deuteronomy 11:26 through 32. Let's understand this in context. This is what Yah delivered, his message delivered through his servant Moshe, all right, within the Torah. Look, today I'm giving you the choice between a blessing and a curse. You will be blessed if you obey the commands of Yahweh, your Elohim, that I am giving you today. But you will be cursed if you reject the commands of Yahweh, your Elohim, and turn away from him and worship Elohims that you have not known before. When Yahweh, your Elohim, brings you into the land and helps you take possession of it, you must pronounce the blessing at Mount Gerizim and the curse at Mount Ebal. These two mountains are west of the Jordan River in the land of the Canaanites, who live in the Jordan Valley, near the town of Gilgal, not far from the oaks of Moreh. For you are about to cross the Jordan River to take over the land that Yahweh, your Elohim, is giving you. When you take that land and are living in it, you must be careful to obey all the decrees and regulations I am giving you today, right? So he's saying their wickedness was at Gilgal, right? Because they made an oath there. They understood the blessings and the curse, right? And they said, we will do and we will obey, but they didn't. right? They wouldn't remain faithful to it. And this is what Hosea is saying. So let's look at what is Gilgal. All right, I put it here in the modern without vowel pointings, and I put it here in the ancient pictograph. So we've got a Gimel Alamid, a Gimel Alamid. Other words spelled the same in the pictograph mean a whirlwind of dust, right? When you go to Strong's and you remove vowel pointings and you just look at the letters, there's lots of different strong numbers that are all spelled the same way. Before Babylon, when the rabbis came in and put, this Nakud and this, vowel pointing and that and the other, and it changed the message and it changed the language. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but that's the truth. So Gilgal, in the basic meaning, it's a wheel that's rolling, right? It's a wheel that's rolling. Okay, it's also a whirlwind of dust, like a tornado, right? It's kicked up a dust. Think about a dust storm in the desert, and everybody's hiding from it because it's destructive. Okay, so it means the primitive root is galal, and it means to roll away, up, down, or to flow. It's a verb that means a rolling movement. Okay, something is happening and it's stirred up, right? So let's look at some places that we find this verb for this rolling movement. The first place I was looking was Psalm 37:5. This word commit, it's been translated as commit, but it's galal, right? It's commit your way, right? Flow, right? Flow, roll your way, right? That's a movement, okay? Roll and your way into Yahweh. Trust also in him and he shall bring it to pass, okay? That's a beautiful promise. So when we're looking at the deeper meaning of commit, it's galal. It's give it completely, flow in it, right? That's what it means to commit your way. You're going to flow in the ways of Yahweh, okay? Jeremiah 36:27, and 28. It says, then the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah. After that, the king had burned the roll, okay, the galal, and the words which Baruch spoke at the mouth of Jeremiah, saying, take you again another roll and write it. All the former words that were in the first roll, which Yahoiakim, the king of Yehuda, has burned. Okay, so he didn't like what this scroll said. This is what it was. It's something that's rolled up, a scroll, right, that was written on with the prophecies and the promises and the words of Yah were a scroll. Okay, it was rolled up. Okay, that's what they look like. So in Jeremiah, the roll or galah is that rolled up scroll. Look in Leviticus 26:30, and I will destroy your high places and cut down your images and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols. Okay, this is another, your galal, right? And my soul shall abhor you. Maybe it was other rolled up oracles that were not the words of Yahweh. Okay, that certainly could have been the idols that were being worshipped, could have been a rolled up scroll that were written not as words of Yah, but words of the enemy. Okay, let's keep going. Hosea 9:16. Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up. They shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. It's sad. It's a sad message, right? I mean, your beloved children, this is what he's saying, that the root is dried up. My Elohim will cast them away because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. This is what happened. They were cast out of the land because of their apostasy. When you defile the land, that's what happens. And when a metaphor in scripture, the seas are always the place of the nations, right? And we are described as fish. That's why he told Peter, I'm going to make you fishers of men. You're to go into the nations and you're to fish for them, right? You're to fish for those souls that belong to my kingdom. Fish them out of the nations. And that is still our commission. And we are still like fish scattered into the nations today. Hosea 10. Let's look at verses 1-3. How prosperous Israel is, a luxuriant vine loaded with fruit. You know, I put this picture of the magic kingdom right there, right? What could be one of the most luxurious places where people spend tons and tons and tons of money to wait in long lines and eat toxic food and celebrate ancient paganism all over the place. Okay, and corrupt their children. All right. How prosperous Yasharel is, a luxuriant vine loaded with fruit. But the richer the people get, the more pagan altars they build. The more bountiful their harvest, the more beautiful their sacred pillars. The hearts of the people are fickle. They are guilty and must be punished. Yahweh will break down their altars and smash their sacred pillars. Then they will say, we have no king because we didn't fear Yahweh. But even if we had a king, what could he do for us anyway? You know, they can't count on the leaders. The people begin to realize, right, that they haven't been honoring Yah, and this is what's happening. They spout empty words and make covenants they don't intend to keep. So injustice springs up among them like poisonous weeds in a farmer's field. The people of Samaria tremble in fear for their calf idol at Beit Aven, and they mourn for it. Though its priests rejoice over it, its glory will be stripped away. What is Bet Aven? Okay, so the people of Samaria Samaria was the capital city of the northern kingdom of Yasharel. Bet Aven is a house of vanity, right? And if that's not where we're at in the United States, I don't know where we are, because that's exactly what it is. So Hosea 10:6-8, this idol will be carted away to Assyria, a gift to the great king there. Ephraim will be ridiculed and Israel will be shamed because its people have trusted in this idol. Samaria and its king will be cut off. They will float away like driftwood on an ocean wave. Isn't that what's happened? I mean, they were dispersed into all the nations. That's what happened to ancient Israel. You know, I find it interesting. I believe that we're looking, as the destruction of the United States of America comes, we're going to see some who survive and escape are going to be dispersed into other nations, right? Samaria and its king will be cut off. They will float away like driftwood on an ocean wave. And the pagan shrines of Aven, vanity, right? The pagan shrines of vanity, the place of Yasharel's sin will crumble. The house of vanity is going to crumble. Thorns and thistles will grow up around their altars. They will beg the mountains, bury us, and plead with the hills, fall on us. Haven't we seen that in other places of scripture? This is exactly, you know, the message in other places of scripture. We see it, you know, in other prophetic messages in the New Testament, in the New Covenant scriptures. Okay. Hosea 10, verses 9 and 10, Yahweh says, oh, Yasharel, ever since Gibeah, right? That's the same Givah, right? This is what we talked about in Judges chapter 19 and 20, right? Ever since Givah, there has been only sin and more sin. It's like, since you went down that path, lusting after strange flesh, right? When you started down that road, it's sin after sin after sin after sin after sin. All right. You've made no progress whatsoever. Was it not right that the wicked men of Gibah were attacked? Right? Wasn't it right that they were dealt with? Because that's what the other leaders in Judges 20, you see the punishment that was put on those men from the tribe of Benjamin that were putting up with this nonsense and allowing their society to go down this road of corruption of sin. And they were decimated. The other tribes came in and destroyed one of their own because of this sin. Hosea 10:10, now whenever it fits my plan, I will attack you too. This is Yah speaking. He's saying, I will, when it fits my plan and my time, I will attack you. I will call out the armies of the nations to punish you for your multiplied sins. This is what's coming. Okay. It's hard to look at. It's hard to think about. It's a hard message for me. I don't want to think about this, but this is what's coming. There are I just thousands, I guess, thousands, who knows how many, and who knows how long it's been coming on. It's proven there are so many records of military age Chinese men coming into our open borders in Texas, right? Just flooding into our country. I believe that there are probably supercells set up all over the place. And there's going to be a moment that all this is unleashed in Yah's time. He says, whenever it fits his plan, right? You better gird up your heart for what's coming. If you haven't thought about this, if it's been too scary for you to even think about, how do you think that you're going to react when it's actually happening? You know, my husband is a martial artist, and it is a proven fact between athletes, you will react in the actual competition, in the actual fight, the way that you trained. If you're not mentally training yourself now for the hard things that are about to befall this nation, you're going to look like a rabbit in the headlights, a rabbit in the face of a dog coming at it, a doe stuck on the road, not knowing which way to run, right? You've got to consider the difficult things that are coming. Do yourself that favor and consider it, and go ahead and decide now that no matter what comes at you, Yah is the same yesterday, today, and forever. As faithful as he's been to you in the past, is as faithful as he will be to you today, and as faithful as he will be to you in the days to come. He will watch out for his people. There's no safer place to be when all hell breaks loose than abiding underneath the shadow of his wings. This is the place of safety, right? This is the place of rest. And that means that I've already given him my everything. I've already given him my hopes, my dreams, my desires. I've all said, you know what? He must increase. I must decrease. Yah, give me what I need today. Help me to be who you need me to be today, right? And that's what we've got to be looking for and doing. Okay. So let's take a look at this next screen. In Hosea 10:11, it says, Ephraim is like a trained heifer treading out the grain, an easy job that she loves. But I'm going to put a heavy yoke on her tender neck. I'm going to force Yehuda to pull the plow and Yaakov to break up the hard ground. So I was looking at this and looking at, gosh, what is this different, the different things that are being discussed here. So Ephraim's job is to tread out the grain. Literally, you're trampling the wheat to remove the chaff, right? This was Yah's job for Ephraim. The word is dosh, okay? And you can see it there in the pictograph and in the modern. Yehuda pulls the plow. All right. So what does the plow do? The plow is to cut or engrave, to devise. Okay. Sometimes it's to plot an evil, right? But I don't believe that Yehuda's job was an evil job. It's you, with most words you can see an antonym and a contronym, right? So I'm looking at both. So it was Yehuda's job to pull that plow, to make an inroad, right? You can't put in seed without pulling the plow, and Yaakov breaks up the hard ground. The hard ground's been described as our heart. He says it's our hearts, that have been hard. And he's looking for a people where the hard ground's been broken up. These are the children of Yaakov. The hard ground of the heart has been broken up. Okay. The word is sadad. It's, you've got to destroy it. You've got to break up those clumps, or the seed that's been planted, is going to be planted, has no hope of sprouting up because it can't get through the hard ground. That's how it works. I love how everything in Yah's word is always agricultural, familial principles, so that we can understand it. All right. So in Isaiah 28:14 and 15, this is what we're told. Wherefore hear the word of Yahweh, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem, because you've said, we've cut a covenant with death and with Sheol. Are we at agreement? When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. Right? They're like, oh no, we've got a plan. Right? The WEC, they've got a plan. These leaders that I believe that Dr. Sanger is right, many are now Nephilim hosts, which is why they are leaders, and the people, other leaders are following after them. Oh, we've got a plan. We've cut a covenant with death. Right? We're in agreement with them. So when this trouble comes, it's just gonna pass through us. We'll be hidden under the rocks. We'll be okay. Right? It's not going to come unto us, for we made lies our refuge, and under falsehoods have we hidden ourselves. Right? That's exactly what's going on right now. Isaiah 28:16 and 17. Therefore, thus says Adonai Yahweh, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. Who is that? Yeshua. He is the rock that everybody's tripping all over, right? He that believes shall not make haste. It means you're not going to be running around crazy in your mind. If you believe in that rock, if he is the rock of your salvation, then you're not going to have a hasty mind that's looking here and there and everywhere and because of the confusion. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. Right? Yah sends hail as a judgment against a lying tongue, against a slandering tongue, against false tongue and false words, and the water shall overflow the hiding place. It washes away and makes things bare and reveals things that have been hidden. And that's nationally and individually. Isaiah 28:18 through 20. And I read a lot of the Isaiah scriptures as I'm going through these other minor prophets, because they were ministering at the same time. They had the same message. Isaiah was also a prophet to the house of Yasharel. All right. It says, and your covenant with death shall be disannulled. Yes, like you think you've got a covenant. I'm going to come and I'm going to disannul that thing. And your agreement with Sheol shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it. From the time that it goes forth, it shall take you. For morning by morning shall it pass over, by day and by night, and it shall be a vexation only to understand the report. It's going to be like so many things are happening at once. Convergence. I did a show not long ago underneath Reports from Under the Desk where I talked about the convergence that's coming, right? And this is what it's talking about. It's going to be so many things happening at once that your mind's not going to be able to handle it. It's war, it's economic collapse, it's natural disasters, it is food shortages, it's illness, it's sickness, it's, not being allowed in society, being cut off from being able to buy, to sell, it is all of these things converging at once. So it's going to be a vexation even to try to wrap your mind around what in the heck is happening. For the bed is shorter than a man can stretch himself on it, and the covering narrow than he can wrap himself in it. Right? It's too much for the human mind. This is why you need the mind of Yahusha. For Yahweh shall rise up as in Mount Perazim. He shall be wroth as in the valley of Givon. Again, we're talking about, this valley of Givon, that he may do his work, his strange work, and bring to pass his act, his strange act. Now, therefore, be ye not mockers, right? You don't want to have a mocking tongue at this point, lest your bands be made strong. For I've heard from Adonai Yahweh Zavaot. Who is that? This is Yahusha, the captain of all the host of army angels. This is who this is. I've heard from Yahweh Adonai Yahweh Zavaot, a consumption even determined upon the whole earth. Give ye ear and hear my voice. Hearken and hear my speech. Does the plowman plow all day to sow? Does he open and break the clods of his ground? This is what we were just talking about, right? With what is Yaakov's job? Who was Yaakov? He was one of our fathers of the faith. So what would be his job now? It's his message. It's his life. It's the testimony that he lived out. It's the words he gave to his sons, the words of promise in their destiny. And it's meant to break open the fallow ground of the heart so that you can receive the good word, the good seed, which is Yahusha. That's what it's for. When he has made plain the face thereof, does he not cast abroad the fitches and scatter the cumin and cast in the principal wheat and the appointed barley and the rye in their place? It's like, what does that mean, right? Well, to me, this is an explanation of the miraculous, omnipresent, powerful sovereignty, omnipotence of who Yah is. It's the fact that he knows every person intimately, right? So look at how he describes these things, because he's talking about people. Does he not cast abroad the fitches and scatter the cumin and cast in the principal wheat? He treats different seed different ways according to his purposes, right? This is how he does things. For his Elohim instructs him to discretion and teaches him. So it's talking about the ways of the farmer. He's given the ways of the farmer wisdom on how he plants seed. If you are given the good seed of Yahusha's word, right, to cast in different places, you're given different types of seed to cast in different types of places so that people's hearts can actually receive it. And you're to do it. This is why the sword of the Lord is sharper than any, the word of the Lord is sharper than any two-edged sword, able to cut and divide between soul and spirit, right? This is why that weapon is described that way, the weapon of the word, because it has to be administered with precision and accuracy and at the right timing and in the right place and in the right way, right? You've got to be a wise minister of his word, which is the sword, which is the seed, okay? It's the same thing. For as Elohim instructs him to discretion and teaches him. For the fishes are not threshed with a threshing instrument, right? Neither is a cartwheel turned about upon the cumin, but the fishes are beaten out with a staff and the cumin with a rod, right? He knows how to remove the chaff and get to what's good with the right instrument. Bread grain is bruised because he will not ever be threshing it, nor break it with the wheel of his cart, nor bruise it with his horsemen. Okay, I mean, think about that, right? The different people and the different situation he puts people in according to what he knows about them. This also comes forth from Yahweh Zavaot, which is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working. I said, plant the good seeds of righteousness, and you will harvest a crop of love. Plow up the hard ground of your hearts, for now is the time to seek Yahweh, that he may come and shower righteousness upon you. We're back in Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12. Plant the good seeds of righteousness. This is what he's telling us. And so he was just explaining, this is a reference back to what we just read in Isaiah. We got to understand Isaiah to understand what he's talking about here. Plant the good seeds of righteousness, and you will harvest a crop of love. Plow up the hard ground of your hearts, for now is the time to seek Yahweh, that he may come and shower righteousness upon you. Right? Let's be faithful. Let's be faithful. But you have cultivated wickedness, Hosea 10:13, but you've cultivated wickedness and harvested a thriving crop of sins. You've eaten the fruit of lies, trusting in your military might, believing that great armies could make your nation safe. Look at all these are just all pictures of the things that we put our trust in as Americans. Well, made in the USA. We've got the best police force and fire force and civil defense. We are the United States. We're the place of freedom, and we welcome the stranger. We've got the best transportation system and delivery, the just-in-time delivery system. We're a mighty warrior. We took over, and we were the ones who won the battle of World War II. We've built the Golden Bridge. We have Hollywood, we have states' rights, and all our different governors and leaders and senators and the ones for the House that are all come in and make all of our laws. And we've got beautiful national parks in Yellowstone. We've got New York City. Right? We have our history we survived the Civil War. We've got, our capital, and it's so beautiful. And what could hurt? We're America. You know how many times I've heard that when you try to tell the message to people, that we're in trouble, that we're on a precipice of destruction. And they're like, no, this is America. Well, it is. And get ready. Just like ancient Israel. That's how they felt too. They were the superpower of the world. All right. So here's what we've really got. What a picture that was put on a Zero Hedge post a few days ago. Then it was kind of, who are the leaders of Target now? It's saying contributor post on Zero Hedge do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Zero Hedge, but they put it on there. It was a chat LGBTQ WTF post. Wow. Our society, I mean, it's coming to a boiling point, right? And so then this was an article that I saw by on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. It was from last Shabbat is when it was posted. It was May 27, the day before Shavuot, right? China is rebuffing all contact with U.S. military, the Pentagon says. So Top Pentagon officials have once again said that China is ignoring and rebuffing the U.S. military's attempts to establish an open line of communication, which is crucial to avoiding inadvertent conflict in regions such as the South China Sea, where both naval powers operate. Open communication channels between maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Affairs, Eli Ratner, said on Thursday, regional media reports. The Pentagon's attempts to reach out to China's military in recent months have been ignored or rebuffed. Recent months this has been going on. Are you hearing about this on the nightly mainstream media news? No, you are not. You are not hearing about this. Ratner told an audience at the DC-based Center for Strategic and International Studies. This is what's happening, but it is not being reported. It's going to hit suddenly. Let me go on to the next thing. My video has decided, my computer's doing something weird. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Let me go on to the next screen. So Hosea 10:14. Now the terrors of war will rise among your people. All your fortifications will fall, just as when Shalman destroyed Beth Arbal. Okay, what is Beth Arbal? It is the house of bread. We literally have restaurants in the nation, in this nation, referred to as the house of bread. Even mothers and children were dashed to death there in the house, in the place that was once known as the house of bread. You will share that fate, Bethel, because of your great wickedness. When the day of judgment dawns, the king of Yasharel will be completely destroyed. Hosea 11:1-2. When Israel was a child, I loved him and I called my son out of Egypt. But the more I called him, the farther he moved from me, offering sacrifices to the image of Baal and burning incense to idols. This is exactly what's going on in our nation right now. Oh, skipped one. Hosea 11:3-7. I myself taught Israel how to walk, leading him along by the hand, but he doesn't know or even care that it was I who took care of him. You know, this nation was extremely blessed, and it was Yahweh's blessing. And this people has stopped caring. They've kicked God out of the nation. I heard Celestial on the Master's Voice share in a what she said is what's coming, what Yah has shared with her, what's coming, that the science is going to take us to a place to, and the culture is taking us to a place where people will literally stand up in this nation, and anybody who is a Bible believer, they're going to laugh at us and say, oh, haven't you heard? That's all been debunked. It's been proven false. Jesus was debunked. The Bible was debunked as all false information. How could you be so stupid as to believe that? You know, like you're just totally ignorant, right? This is where this nation is headed. I believe that. I believe that. So they're not even going to care. We're not, the nation, the people in this nation are not even going to care that where their blessings came from. It says, I led Yasharel along with my ropes of kindness and love. I lifted the yoke from his neck, and I myself stooped to feed him. But since my people refuse to return to me, they will return to Egypt and will be forced to serve Assyria. War will swirl through their cities. Their enemies will crash through their gates. Okay, what are the gates of our city? You know, New York is a huge gate. There's, I believe that there's also portals. You know, that CERN's trying to open them up right now, right? The Washington, D.C. is a major gate into the country. Okay. Their enemies will crash through their gates. They will destroy them, trapping them in their own evil plans. For my people are determined to desert me. They call me the Most High. They call me El Elyon, but they don't truly honor me. Honor is a concept that has been lost in this nation. Honor for Yah, honor for leaders, honor for others, honor for parents. It's been lost as a whole. Okay. Hosea 11:8. Oh, how can I give you up, Yasharel? How can I let you go? How can I destroy you like Admah or demolish you like Zeboim? My heart is torn within me and my compassion overflows. This is Yah speaking through the prophet Hosea and Yah's broken heart, right? So Genesis 10:8-20 gives a reference for both of these cities as ancient Canaanite cities. These were cities that were, you can see it down here in Deuteronomy 29:23, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown, nor bears, nor any grass grows therein, like the overthrow of Sodom, Amorah, Admah. Okay, there it is, Admah, and Zevaim, which is Zeboim. That's how you say it in Hebrew, which Yahweh overthrew in his anger and in his wrath. So this is a reference to those 5 cities, including Sodom and Gomorrah, that had to be utterly destroyed because of the sex magic and the going after sex with strange flesh, with angels, right? Men and angels. Okay. So the primitive root Hebrew word for Admah is Adam. It's mankind, right? It was the city of mankind. It's the name of a city, but it was the city for humankind, right? The root word for Zeboim is Zabah, and it means to swell or exalt. So is this a reference to one who was exalted and had to be destroyed, right? A place named for, and one who exalted himself and had to be destroyed. Well, don't we see that in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28? This is the adversary, I believe. Okay. So we've got some interesting references there. Hosea 11:9-12. No, I will not unleash my fierce anger. I will not completely destroy Yasharel. Praise Yah. We all deserved it. We all deserved to just be totally wiped out, but he's not going to do that. His kindness and compassion is there. For I am an Elohim and not a mere mortal. He's like, my anger is not like the anger of mortals, right? I am the Holy One, the Kadosh Echad, living among you, right? He's in our hearts, the believers. He's in our midst, right? And I will not come to destroy, for someday the people will follow me. I, Yahweh, will roar like a lion. And when I roar, my people will return trembling from the west, right? He's like, you are going to get scattered into the nations, and many of you will be destroyed, those who won't come back to me and join in with the world. Yes, destruction's coming on the wicked, but also so many are coming back out of the nations, right? He's sending the fishers, fish for them. If you have him in your heart, you're a fisher. Go fish for those souls, right? He loves us, and he will bring us back up out of the nations into that greater exodus. Hello, Euphrasia. Thank you, and blessings to you. I'm glad you were able to join me today. So for someday the people will follow me. I, Yahweh, will roar like a lion. And when I roar, my people will return trembling from the west. Like a flock of birds, they will come from Egypt, trembling like doves. And they will return from Assyria. And I will bring them home again, says Yahweh. What a promise. Israel surrounds me with lies and deceit. But Yehudah still obeys Elohim and is faithful to the Kadosh One, to the Holy One. This is what he said back in those ancient days. So that was today's presentation. Thank you, Cheerful Heart. Sighted Mon. Okay. Thanks so much for that. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Hit that like button, share it, look at the connections in the comments. All right. And blessings to each and every one of you. May you have a wonderful day. Shalom.
Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise to Him who lives eternally. They never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh.